Last week, the People's Bank of China announced that it had purchased 30 tons of gold in December. A week before that, the Russian Finance Ministry announced that it was doubling the amount of gold and Chinese yuan that could be held in Russia's National Well-Being Fund, while simultaneously setting its accounts in British pounds and Japanese yen to zero. These are both important data points, and they reveal the course that the world is set on as we head into 2023. But an important question to ask is, why are China and Russia moving into hard assets while de-dollarizing and divesting themselves of Western currencies? What are they preparing for? And that's what we'll be discussing in today's video. So let's get to it. Hey everybody, Smart Silver Stacker here. Thanks for tuning into today's video. If you get some value from it and you enjoy it, please do give it a big thumbs up down below and consider sharing it with your friends. And today's video is brought to you by SD Bullion, my preferred source for physical gold and silver. You can check them out with the link down in the description. China's purchase of 30 tons of gold in December followed purchases of 32 tons in November. The November additions were the first increase to their official gold holdings in 3 years, which now stand at 2,010 tons. However, real Chinese gold reserves likely exceed this number by a significant margin. Just how much gold China really has is a topic of much speculation, but one thing is for sure. They will only reveal that figure at a time when it is of maximum benefit to them and their overall strategy. Keep in mind that China is the world's #1 producer of gold, and at the same time, they have been a net importer of the metal for years. So there is a very real possibility that the true level of Chinese reserves may exceed that of even the US, whose official gold holdings of 8,134 tons place it in the #1 global position, at least on paper. Now, I know there's a lot of you out there who will balk at that figure about US reserves and claim that there's no more gold in Fort Knox, but that's kind of a topic for another video. However, speaking of the US, while China has been accumulating hard assets in the form of gold, they have also been dumping US treasuries. And according to this most recent data from the US Treasury, as of October, China had dumped more than $150 billion worth of US treasuries in the first 10 months of 2022 alone. Now, let's take a look at Russia, the world's #2 producer of gold, whose dollar and euro denominated assets remain frozen following their invasion of Ukraine. In addition to demanding payment for energy exports in either local currencies or rubles, they have increased their holdings of both gold and yuan in an attempt to reduce their vulnerability to Western sanctions and the weaponization of the US dollar. The yuan's share of Russian currency markets has skyrocketed to 40 to 45%. Up from less than 1% at the start of 2022. And just like with China, there has been quite a bit of speculation that Russia's true precious metals holdings may significantly exceed their official gold holdings of 2,299 tons. It's hard to know exactly how much gold Russia really has, but one figure that was cited by Alistair McLeod, head of research over at Gold Money, was 12,000 tons. Now, you have to take this number with a huge grain of salt. This was something he mentioned in an interview with King World News, based on information that he had gained from what he referred to as a reliable source in Russia. So it's hardly an official number, but there is reason to believe that Russia may hold significant amounts of precious metals outside of its officially stated reserves. You see, Russia has this entity called the Gokhran, also referred to as the Gauss Fund. This is an institution under the Russian Ministry of Finance, and it's responsible for the state fund of precious metals and precious stones of the Russian Federation. And according to the Gokhran's website, its objectives are 1. The formation of the State Fund of Russia with precious metals including gold, silver, platinum, and other platinum group metals, as well as precious stones such as diamonds, emeralds, rubies, sapphires, alexandrites, and natural raw pearls. And 2, storage, accounting, and preservation of the valuables of the State Fund of Russia. And this is not to be confused with the Russian monetary gold reserves. Those are held by the Bank of Russia. Now, how much gold and other precious metals and stones does the Gokhran have? Well, there's no way to really know because it is a state secret. Ronan Manley, who has written extensively on this topic over at bullionstar.com, he posted this correspondence from the Gokhran, in which they confirmed that they do not publish information regarding their precious metals holdings. And for those of you who don't read Russian, here's a Google translation of that document. But it appears that Russia may have plans to utilize its stockpile of precious metals and hard assets in its ongoing war efforts. Here's a headline from Russian news outlet RBC regarding the metals being used as part of Russia's war mobilization, with the Russian president able to decide their use. Now, maybe that just means selling some metals to help fund the war effort. Or maybe there's more to this. After all, how do Russia and China plan to use their gold and other hard assets? That's the big question, because they certainly are busy acquiring those assets. Well, it's no secret that there is an ongoing war being waged between the US and its allies and Russia and China. In Ukraine, that takes the role of a proxy war between NATO and the Russian military, and things are heating up between the US and China over Taiwan as well. Already in 2023, China has conducted large-scale military exercises around the island nation and condemned US politicians who interact with Taiwan. A spokesperson for China's Taiwan Affairs Office said today that they have recommitted to smashing plots for Taiwan independence in the new year. But before China can make any real moves against Taiwan, it needs to prepare itself for the inevitable economic fallout of such an adventure. And one way to do that is to limit the ability of the US to levy sanctions against China. After witnessing the freezing of Russia's foreign currency reserves, they know the game plan. Dump US dollar-denominated assets and buy gold. That's why I believe that we will be seeing more additions to China's gold reserves in 2023, as well as the continued sell-off of US debt by China, the second biggest holder of US treasuries. The US has already levied sanctions against China in the form of banning the export of cutting-edge semiconductor chips, a move that not only gives China a preview of what may be to come, but also provides a stronger incentive for them to ultimately invade Taiwan in order to seize the advanced semiconductor manufacturing facilities located on the island. And the situation in Ukraine is continuing to escalate as well, with Russian Security Council Secretary Nikolai Patrushev recently quoted as stating, "The events in Ukraine are not a clash between Moscow and Kiev. This is a military confrontation between Russia and NATO, and above all, the United States and Britain. And as that conflict continues to heat up, there will be continued efforts by Russia, possibly aided by its BRICS partners, to undermine the US dollar's global hegemony and world reserve status. While the US and NATO may possess some level of military supremacy, the dollar could prove to be the West's Achilles heel." And that's where all of these hard assets, the gold, the silver, the stones, the platinum, that's where this all comes into play. Putin has already proven that he understands gold and commodities are a powerful game piece in the ongoing geopolitical chess game between East and West, with moves such as his short-lived fixed ruble purchases of gold earlier in 2022, as well as his refusal to sell Russian energy exports for dollars, euros, and other hostile currencies, as he refers to them. On top of those moves, he has floated the idea of a Moscow world standard, an alternative precious metals exchange intended to rival Western entities such as the LBMA, the LME, and the COMEX. And back in 2014, China established the Shanghai Gold Exchange, a physical gold trading and custody platform aimed at international gold investors. And it's quite interesting that this was at the same time that Russia was busy annexing Crimea, a move that set us on the path that we remain on today. China and Russia have been planning these de-dollarization moves for some time, as outlined in this document titled De-Dollarization Efforts in China and Russia, published in 2021 by the Congressional Research Service. And now, these plans are accelerating rapidly as we head into 2023. This may even be the year that we see a gold or commodity-backed currency announced by either China or possibly the BRICS nations as a whole. Now, maybe not. Like I said, China will wait to make any such move until a time of maximum opportunity presents itself, But with the level of global tensions and uncertainty rising to unprecedented levels, the risks of such a development are higher than ever before. Now, another wild card in this equation is the possibility of Saudi Arabia joining the BRICS nations. Back in October, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa revealed that Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman had expressed a desire for the kingdom to join the BRICS organization. This was followed by Chinese President Xi Jinping's landmark visit to Saudi Arabia in December, where the two nations signed a strategic partnership agreement. Combine this with the fact that China has now become Saudi Arabia's largest trading partner, and the Saudis are now China's biggest supplier of crude oil, and you can see that the longtime US-Saudi alliance of the past 5 decades may be coming to an end rather soon. This too is an ominous development, as the petrodollar system, in which Saudi Arabia prices their oil exports exclusively in US dollars, may soon be a thing of the past, constituting a major blow to the dollar's status as the world's reserve currency. As the US continues to accumulate massive, unsustainable levels of debt and experience high levels of inflation, these developments on the global chessboard should be of major concern to all of us. The world dumping US debt, that means that we could be headed towards a major debt crisis, one in which the Federal Reserve is forced to print vast quantities of dollars in order to absorb all of the treasuries and prevent interest rates from spiking to the stratosphere. An alternative currency to the dollar getting a toehold in the world economy means a lot of dollars may come flooding back home from abroad, and the end of the petrodollar system, that would mean far less demand for dollars worldwide and would severely limit the US's ability to continue to export our inflation to the rest of the world. And this is why I am following the lead of central banks around the world and getting into hard assets like gold and silver. Because if the opponents of the US are successful in their bid to undermine US dollar hegemony, it's going to mean massive economic pain and likely very high levels of inflation here in the West. Now, maybe precious metals are not your thing, but if this does play out that way, just about anything will be better than sitting in cash. Food, guns and ammo, fuel, fine art, real estate, farmland, automobiles, just about any physical tangible asset will be rising significantly in dollar terms, and anyone on a fixed income or sitting in cash, they may just get wiped out. Now, personally, I like gold and especially silver because they're easy to store and they have a history as stores of value going back thousands of years. So that's just what I'm doing. And of course, none of this is financial advice. All I'm doing is sharing with you my thoughts and what I am doing to get prepared. And hopefully, none of this plays out the way I have outlined in this video. But we do have to live in reality, and if you ask me, the situation is not looking good. Now, let me know what you think about everything I covered in this video in the comments down below. Thanks for watching, everyone. Stay safe and happy stacking. I'll catch you next time. Smart Silver Stacker, out.